Hi, welcome back to the Prospering podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, Events Director of ProspHER, and I am absolutely thrilled today because I have a very, very special guest in person, in my kitchen. Normally these are all over Zoom, and I was so glad. I mean, she lives local, so it helps, but we have the amazing CEO of ProspHER, Serena in person. Yay! And I'm so happy. She's here. She's the actual person. Look, I can touch her and everything. Oh my god. So we're going to have a really good chat today about the company and about our relationship and our plans for the future. So I'm really excited to get into this. And hopefully it's an entertaining watch, if nothing else, because we're a bit mad. Yes. But we're fine. It'll be a laugh and educational at the same time. So Serena, thank you for coming today, darling. I really appreciate it. It's so cool to see you.
I know.
We voice each other a lot, so it's nice to actually, physically see each other.
Yes. I've promised I will be on my best behaviour.
Well, to a point. Yes. We're going to try and be as professional as we can be, but we are both a bit nuts, so it's fine. It's fine. So, darling, how are you at the moment? How are things going? Because I know that you the last 18 months has been challenging, shall we say. So how are you today? How are you doing?
I'm good today.
Good.
The sun's been out and it's
lovely.
Kind of, I think, like you say, the last few years have kind of done that, but I think that's the same for everybody's life, isn't it?
It has.
Yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning, shall we? Because, I know that people will know your story and your journey, but there'll be some watching this that don't. So tell us, how was ProspHER born? How does it come into being? If you can remember far back.
Yeah, I know. It feels like a long time ago. It was a long time ago. Okay, so we'll do we've not got loads of time, so we'll try and keep it as can sort of confined as possible. But I used to run a company, started a company when I was made redundant while on maternity leave with Ella, who's now 12.
Wow.
And it was a virtual assistance agency, so we just did all that sort of admin help, account stuff like that for people. Had a client who unfortunately is not with us anymore, Sarah. She from Bright Yellow Marketing. She was just an incredible client and one of the first, and always supported me. She's always like a mentor and stuff as well, and she ran a local women's business networking group up at Caister Hall, near here in Norfolk. So and got to the point where she was so busy with her agency. She ran like a social media agency, so she was really busy, and she just said, Serena, as you're helping out, like, can you take this network over? And because I said yes to everything at that time and was able to, because I only had one small child and a lot of help with childcare, etc. Very blessed, but I said yes, that's fine, and kind of just evolved from there. So brought it to Elm Farm Country House, which is closer to me, and rebranded it to Her Business Brew at the time. So it was just a monthly small business women coming together. It's mainly sort of the craft businesses, well-being businesses, the smaller one woman, just trying to get through life, and it was really good because I'd worked with so many men in the virtual assistants, because the majority of men kind of were the ones that needed organising, it seemed, within my network. So I started in a state agency and then came into this virtual assistants world, which is also male dominated. To have that monthly interaction with women who had families as well and was juggling motherhood, and that was a totally new thing to me. But I was like, wow, this is great. There's other people who have been up all night feeding their young child and then having to work during the day and stuff, so they just totally got it. So it kind of started from there, and then developed into, so that was 2015, then developed into Her Business Revolution a few years later, to bring in an online platform for learning and networking and stuff like that. So kind of what we were doing in person, we were doing online as well, so reaching a larger audience and kind of doing larger conferences and things like that as well, but mainly still focused on those smaller businesses. And then COVID happened, lockdowns and all that, and at the time we were finding not only that traditionally we'd always kind of resonated with women who were in like the corporate world, or they'd built a career, or they were working for as an employee of someone else and they wanted to start their own business. That was generally but then lockdown happened and you got kind of a very mix up where we were seeing that because people were like, actually I hate my job, I've reflected and I want to do my own thing. But also we were getting those that were wanting to return to the workplace and return to the corporate employment scene, or kind of wanted a mixture of both, or kind of, so that was very interesting at the time. So her business revolution, because it was sort of focused on the small business market, the brand didn't seem to fit, and the kind of we had a very sort of pink, you know, which I like my pink. You've got the pink lipstick on. You've got the Her Business Revolution sort of pink going on there.
Absolutely.
So that was very sort of like that. But we were finding we wanted to attract a different type of audience. We wanted to bring on board some more corporate organisations to help with bringing women back into the workplace and different things. So rebranded with the ProspHER Purple. Kind of at the time that was like I was trying to think of the tagline for Her Business Revolution, because we were all super women, that was it. But we were finding that didn't then really resonate, so the passion, purpose, power kind of came out of that. So we almost like grew up a little bit as a brand, and ProspHER kind of really resonated to that wider audience. So we were then attracting sort of women who wanted professional development, but whether what that looked like, and throughout their journey they could be sort of running a business, close that, go back into work, maybe then do a side hustle. So we wanted to be that place where people could, and women could kind of interact throughout their whole journey, and it wasn't just kind of that small getting into business and then we were unable to kind of support from there. So ProspHER was kind of born post pandemic, and then we running festival events and different things like that because of the COVID restrictions and things like that. So I've got a lot to thank for COVID, really, in terms of, and I know it feels like it was 5 years ago now, it just feels like forever. But actually that kind of shaped what ProspHER is today, and actually we kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit more in terms of what we were doing online and offline. You know that over the past few years we've done a lot of like trials and piloting things and pushing the boundaries with things, and some haven't landed, some have, but it's been a very more creative, innovative kind of journey since the rebrand and the sort of glow up of what ProspHER is now, and it's quite exciting. We've now got that as a foundation, and we can kind of keep pushing the boundaries because we're built on that solid foundation.
I love the journey that you and the company have been on so far, and I think it's a really important message, is that it is continual professional development in practice. Like it's actually, you are a living embodiment of the things that the ethics and the principles that you embody in the company are coming through the practice of the company itself. Do you know what I mean? So it's evolved, and it really has. I know people use the word journey a lot, and sometimes it can feel a bit,
overused,
but it really has been. And to watch you, I mean, I've been part of the group now since 2022, I think. I came on September, October that year. And to watch even the evolution in that space of time has been quite phenomenal. So, I mean, it's been very up and down, as we say. We've learned a lot of lessons. Do you feel like now, looking back, and we won't talk about people, specifically, but the lessons that you have learned that have been very challenging, do you think that they've been a blessing now that you have hindsight on them?
Yes, definitely, 100%. Like, I used to see like I think I wasn't brought up to be, because my parents have always been really supportive, but as I was growing up, I had a lot of expectation for myself.
Yes.
So as I grew up, I tried to, I suppose, grow into the person I thought all the people around me wanted to be, if that makes sense. So I was always aiming for that perfection, which, even from sort of the age of my daughter, 12 now, like is now. So I kind of, as I went through those teenage years and sort of then into like my degree and then on to like my first career in a state agency and stuff, I was always kind of a very hard worker, because that was kind of what the world expected of me.
Yes.
I was a hard worker. I was always kind of, I did sort of 60, 70 hours a week when I started out in my career. I had the company car, I had the, and then kind of, I think then I built my business on that ideology, so from Glow Virtual Assistants then into kind of building what ProspHER is today, kind of, for many years it was almost, okay, well, what do the big successful business people, usually men, do? Okay, they have like a big staff, a lot of staff, they have kind of different departments, they have a very hierarchical type structure where they're the big boss, and they kind of, they have the office and the flash car and that sort of thing. Like that in my head was always, well, that is success. That is so I think now looking back and focusing on your original question, looking back, those things aren't important to me anymore. And I think it's because of the journey and the fact that I've had the, big fleets of vehicles and staff and, the nice office and on the outside, people could have looked in and went, wow, like she's doing really well, the company's doing really well, but at that point we've been in like lots of debt, or there's been problems, conflicts between staff, the team's not gelling well, and all problems that from the outside we wouldn't envisage being there, because there's that perception of like, oh well, they're successful because they look successful, but actually you look at the balance sheet and you look at the finances and under the hood at all the problems going on in terms of the company with structure and culture, I suppose. It was all I was going to say a naughty word there, but a show, an S show,
a sugar show.
A sugar show, yeah. It was all, see, I'm being good.
Very good. Honestly, you've been impressed.
But yeah, it was all falling apart at those times. And I've had multiple times like that over, we've had like a few different teams that have, and we've, whether they've been volunteers, whether they've been like on the board, whether they've been like employed, like whatever, we've had like different dynamics. But actually now it's taught me how I want it to be, for it to fit my life, and not that shiny exterior. Like really, I don't care. Like, it's that whole substance over style thing. Like it doesn't really matter what we, if we're making mistakes and stuff, actually that's a good thing, because we're evolving, and we've had, over the past few years, we've had like things, as I said, that have gone really well, like amazingly well, and also things that have kind of just gone, and we've worked on, but actually that the times where things have fallen apart or felt really disconnected or felt really not aligned have then pushed us onto something better, or connected us with someone new coming into the team that has brought something different to the table and new idea, so going back to your original question, I think yes, I am so grateful for all the people that didn't align with what I was doing at that time, or also the way that shaped me and my brain. Because I used to see, like, I put a post out on LinkedIn yesterday actually about how failures are all part of it, and you know, like, a lot of people don't show the things they're failing on at the time, you know, they kind of try and gloss over them, and they kind of but I've come to realise that the biggest entrepreneurs and the most successful people in the world, you look actually beyond that shiny experience, and they've had companies that have gone completely, you know, they've had teams or investors that have taken their company from under them, or they've and they always bounce back. And actually I think that is the true sign of success, is the resilience to just keep on no matter what has happened, whether it be in business. And it's like anyone that's watching, if you're going through a difficult situation, that is a positive, because it might not seem it when you're in the, you know, deep, and I've struggled mental health and kind of been at the bottom of the barrel, as I would call it, and I know how hard it is to pull you out. You know, when you're in those, it's not always easy when you're the one facing those things, but actually when you look back on that, you think, wow, that completely check. It's even like when we met, wasn't it? Like, we met at a time where things had fell apart really for ProspHER, and kind of literally I'd just given up the lease of the office, had to sack the whole team because of, you know, that sounds, sack them like you're fired, Alan Sugar, not like that. It was a very, the majority was very, it was very, did a good impression there. But I was forced to, because there was no money, there was no, you know, the team dynamic, there wasn't that innovation and kind of to spin the negatives to the positives that we needed, and we just had to kind of start a new slate. And literally, I think like a couple of days after that was all going on, you then came back, because we'd known each other since
2018. We connected around that time. We were just friends, weren't we? I was saying to people, we didn't work together at that point. We were just mates. we did like an event, didn't we?
We
weren't like working together.
We weren't working together how we do now. I don't know why I did like buddy working together like we do work together. Like, we're not faking it, you know. But we kind of dabbled in businessy stuff, but also we were friends, and we kind of then I was saying that we never fell out or anything. It's just we're both busy working mums, and COVID happened, and we were just trying to keep our heads above water. We didn't really have time for anything else. And then it's just weird how I think someone connected you back to ProspHER, and you didn't realise it was me.
Absolutely.
Because
what happened, for those that don't know, is that I believe in I call them spiritual breadcrumbs, and I think if you have the courage and the trust to follow the path, it will lead you somewhere amazing. So in 2022, I'm a single parent of twins, and I've had the summer holidays, which 6.5 weeks with your children. That face, right? We love our kids, but if you know, you know, right?
The image of like rocking in a corner with a bottle of something that's quite strong, whatever your tipple was at the time.
So they went back to school, and I randomly got a Facebook message from a woman that I don't know, never spoken to before, and she runs a charity in Norwich called Hopestead, which helps homeless people to get, you know, their life back on track. And she said, I've seen the work that you're doing. I think that you're awesome. We've got an event coming in a couple of weeks. Do you want to come for free? And I'm like, it was the same day the kids went back to school. And I was like, yeah, I need to go and do something for me and something with adults. Yes, please. So went into the city, and it was this talk by, she's originally British, but she lives in the States, called Dr. Sam Collins, who runs the group Aspire, who I know that you know her as well. She's awesome. If you haven't checked her out, Aspire, it's awesome. And she was giving a talk about her book Rebellious, which is also a great book, but it's about showing up bigger and louder and stronger in your life and your career, and kind of pushing us to kind of think about that. And of course, she says she lives in the States, so as part of it, she got us up and talking to each other. Right?
Norfolk, we're not very good at that, are we?
No.
But right, when we know someone.
Yes,
yeah.
So I found one of the few men in the room, and the question was, what's your big scary dream? Not what's your safe big dream that you tell people. What's the big scary dream? So I kind of found this guy, and I said, what's yours? And he went, I don't know. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. So the coach in me, I had to help him figure out his dream first. And then he said, well, what's yours then? And I said, well, I'd love to open a women's centre in Norwich at some point, a place of education, support and empowerment, a real safe space for women. And this man, this white middle-aged man, had the audacity to say to me, women don't need safe spaces, they already have them.
Oh.
I did not kill him. Attempted, but I did not kill him.
He's
He's still living. So all I told him about was an experience where I live in Sprowston in Norwich, and I'd gone round to what we call the little Tesco Express, on a Sunday afternoon to get some bits. And I live in a suburb. There's houses everywhere, and there's kids and old people and dogs, and it's just. And I was followed home by some random guy shouting very obscene and horrible sexual things at me on a Sunday afternoon. So you can't even be safe in your own...
That is shocking, knowing this, obviously over the past few years, our city centre, like any city centres, has got more knife crime and stuff like that. But we're still not the London, the Birmingham, those areas that you would consider those things to happen.
Yeah.
And I suppose that was a shock for you.
Because it was such a shock.
They don't happen so often.
No. I mean, as women, we always got to be aware of our own safety. But I got to the end of this road, and he was still shouting things and following me. And I thought, I don't want to come into this road because what if he knows where I live? So I walked all the way around. And it's like it goes the big loop. And I'm crying the whole time.
Yeah.
And luckily he didn't continue following me, but I'm just like really frightened. And I came in the road at this side, and thankfully he'd gone. So I got in the house really quickly, and I rang the police because but because I hadn't made eye contact with him, I couldn't give them an accurate description. No. So they really couldn't do anything. But yeah, it wasn't fun. So that was kind of my point. And the guy at the event kind of shut up, obviously. But anyway, the idea of what I'd said to him about this women's centre now won't leave my brain, because that's how I work. So I come home and I'm Googling Women's Centres UK, because that's me. And I email everybody and said, I've had this idea, don't know the first thing about it, but any advice would be appreciated, thank you. Out of all of them I emailed, probably about 15 women, one got back to me, who is based in Liverpool, where I'm originally from, and directed me back to Norwich, to the Norwich Growth Hub, which is the EU incentive for people in business.
Yes.
Which I didn't know about until that point. So I emailed them, and I had a meeting with a guy, and he was talking about my own business and what I should do and blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks later, I got an email on the Friday to say, hi, it's probably short notice, but there's an event happening today in the city. I think it'd be great for you. And it was, like, I had clients I couldn't go, but I emailed the lady running it saying, hi, I'm a motivational speaker, blah, blah, blah. Got on with my work, and that afternoon you emailed me and said, hi, this woman has now left the company, but I want to talk to you. And I did not know that ProspHER belonged to Serena at all.
How weird is that?
It was the weirdest thing. And then we got on Zoom, and then we were like, an hour and a half.
And
of
obviously, that particular event I was not part of, because it was with someone who I didn't align with, and ProspHER didn't align with at the time, and that Sugarshows was going on. I love that. I'm going to use that.
Sugarshows.
So I would, I think that day of the event, I was actually in Cromer at the coast with my mum to stay like totally away from the situation.
Yeah, because you'd not been well, hadn't you?
No, and I'd been unwell and different things going on, and like the fact that situation for both of our perspectives sparked us coming back together again. That, like you say, the whole spiritual breadcrumbs thing, and how, and I suppose your previous question was saying about looking back, but that was a very pivotal moment, I think, for us both and ProspHER, to then who we've got on board in the team now and what ideas we've been bringing to the table, and kind of all of that kind of spark. That's one of those milestone moments where,
for sure. Absolutely. And of course, like, I love that. So I always say to people when I tell them the story, your more corporate background, because obviously you've worked in estate agencies and you've done business and marketing and all that sort of stuff. I'm you're a holistic woo-woo friend, as you know. I hate the term woo-woo, but for the sake of the podcast.
Yeah.
And very esoteric, very holistic. And I was like, I always say to people, you know, bring them together, because when you support the whole woman, body, mind and spirit, she shows up stronger for her career anyway.
Yeah, exactly, which is why now we do so much more of the personal development stuff and the more holistic and wellness and mindset stuff. Like, I mean, mindset and mental health is mostly starts from there, doesn't it? You know, absolutely. So the fact that we brought all that in, and that never really existed before COVID and kind of even post COVID, really, because we were still focusing on very professional and I think just opening it up, like a lot of the whole sort of business world says, oh, you have to niche and you have to like really, you know, and we kind of went against the grain and kind of,
as we always do,
opened it up to more women and kind of made it more fun and enjoyable and brought in the personal stuff and the holistic stuff and all that, the well-being stuff, with the what I call hard stuff, the professional development stuff and that, and it has just worked because I think we are doing something different, because we're not really niching down. So it goes back to what I said about what should work and what should be successful and all of this, and the fact now that we all work remotely and we've got team members here, there and everywhere, all over the country, and we call upon them when, you know, we've got different projects going on or different things going on, and it's I suppose quite casual at times, even though we, you know, I like my structure, as you know, and my that's the virtual assistant in me, and the organizer kind of as a person, but I think that's why it works well, isn't it?
Yeah, because we all have different strengths, I think, that really complement each other.
Yeah.
So it really does mix well together, because whatever someone's lacking, somebody else has got that strength and can pick it up. So it's a real kind of nice, it's a nice working environment together.
And interestingly, when we are having personal things happen, like, I mean, you said with me for the last few years, with for those who don't know, I won't bore you with too many details, but I had a fall from a climbing wall, which slipped a disc, which is painful in itself, but then that trapped my sciatic nerves and basically nearly paralysed me. So I now walk with a stick and I've got a wheelchair, and I've had to get used to being disabled. I say that because it's kind of in my head. I still have one perception of disabled, but I'm obviously my own version. And I think, you know, getting used to dealing with illness and medical stuff, as well as being a mum, business person, things that come as curveballs, like, you know, loved ones leaving this world, you know, illnesses with families. What else have I had?
There
garage
was
fires.
The fire,
had a
then you've got two children who themselves can be interesting,
challenging, but they've been really good.
They have, bless them.
They've had to grow up a lot in the past few years.
Absolutely.
But I think just having a team whereby if someone is struggling, you know, none of us feel, even myself, who, you know, like you always say, I'm the boss, but I hate that, like the boss, or, you know, like the boss. But, you know, those that are kind of, all of us sort of core team are very pivotal to what's going on. But when any of us are lagging or got personal issues or have got, you know, health issues or whatever things going on, it's not a case of, oh, we have to just kind of woman up and power through. It's like, do you know what? You take a few weeks, sort yourself out, like not sort yourself out. but kind of, you know, look after yourself, look after your family, your health, because they are the most important things, and everyone else will cover. And not being funny, if all of us at times have kind of been going through things, we pause for a few weeks, you know, we don't push it, and I think that's what makes us different from other organisations
I
is
agree.
that no one is left behind. No one is kind of, oh, well, they're not performing, you know, their results aren't, or that's going wrong, or so we'll just cast them aside. You know, it's not like that. It's we know we're all talented in our own different skills and our different ways. And the fact that we can lift each other up and help pull each other out of those hard times quicker. And I think going back, I just think, if anything, I've learned that I'm a lot stronger and a lot more resilient than I ever thought I could be through like the last few years. And you know, I'm not saying it's all been rosy and it's all been positive, because it's been bloody hard at times. Like, but having the team and the culture and the kind of that supportive aspect that goes beyond just the I feel I'm tearing up, and I promised I wouldn't, because that's just but having that is worth more to me than any style over substance success, you know, the flash cars, the office and all that. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's took me so many years to realise that. But I think when challenges come, and same with anyone who's watching, you know, if you've have challenges, the people you surround yourself with, and that is worth more than anything. Like, that is just
I agree. It's funny, isn't it? Because like, I just touching on something for a second there. It's that you were feeling yourself get emotional for a second, and as women, I think that we naturally want to apologise for that still. We see it as like a highly sensitive weakness almost, and I always tell people off for it, as you know. Because I say to people, you don't apologise for laughing, do you? Unless it's inappropriate, like if you're laughing at a funeral, that's kind of not appropriate. But
or someone's in really a lot of pain, and you just kind of standing there like,
that's not nice. No. But laughing is the other side of the coin of crying, and for me, it's an emotional release. And I would argue that the way the business world has been operating for years and years and years, which is very patriarchal. You know how I feel about the patriarchy. It's my favourite topic.
I want to do that again.
I know. I think there feels, and I know it's difficult at the moment because obviously there's the economy and there's all this political unrest and there's lots of things in the air, as there always is. But I would argue that the way we're doing business is shifting and changing into something that is more, like you say, mental health, personal development, holistic, person-centred. And I think being sensitive and emotional, we have to stop apologising for it, because what message are we giving ourselves and what message are we giving to other people?
It is interesting as well, like touching on kind of the way shifts are happening, even those that I would consider, you know, everyone has their own definition of what successful people or successful entrepreneurs or what that looks like, but even those that I would consider are now being a lot more open about that, you know, all genders, you know, not just female, like, you know, everyone across the board is kind of realising that it's not just a tactic of, you know, it used to be, oh, I'll open up on social media, I'll do a video of how sad I am about something that's going on, and kind of, you know, it'll get me loads of views and it'll be a great strategy. But actually, you can see these influential people actually mean it now, because they're understanding that shift's happening, and that people really do relate to that, and that's what people want in the business. That's why people buy from people. They buy from brands, you know, they buy from, because they've got that loyalty, because they feel that connection.
It's about authenticity, isn't it? We all know individuals and brands where, like you say, it's a tick box exercise, or it's a PR stunt, or it's a marketing thing, and even if don't feel that you're intuitive, you are, and you can smell it. you can smell the inauthenticity, you can smell the fakeness, you can smell the desperation, and it turns you off.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't know why, there's a disconnect, right? There's an unalignment there. And I think showing up real and vulnerable as much as you can, and honest and authentic, really is the way forward. And like you say, that post you put on LinkedIn, where you just owned it and you didn't hide, you didn't pretend, you just went, I've been struggling, I lost my mojo, I'm finding it again, and that's okay, because
I'm glad that someone read it. One person.
I read it. Go look at Serena's LinkedIn, it's great.
But that's the thing, like I'm a real open book with things, and a lot of people say they're an open book, don't they? But they're actually, you know, if you look on their social profiles or you kind of speak to them, you almost, like you say, you have that feeling that they're only telling you part of it, or they're only, you know, but
I'll tell you what they think you want to hear.
And actually, like, gone are those days where there's nice shiny Instagram grids that all look kind of like really branded, you know, like people don't want that anymore, and they want real stories. They want real stories, real connection, like that. Like, I go back to that phrase, style over substance, because that happens so much in the business world, in our kind of industry, like the training industry, the coaching industry. You know, a lot of the time there is that, you look under the hood and you're thinking, oh well, actually there's not that substance there. Absolutely. You know, I'm not slating what anyone else is doing, because it's their journey, their path, what they want to do. But I think there's something quite special about actually just being able to be yourself. And I find that, and I suppose it's something I've got to work on, is to stop apologising. But I suppose I don't apologise as much as I used to.
Oh yeah, because you used to be awful.
I used to, you know, even writing posts or doing live videos or kind of whatever across socials or networking and being in a room, like I kind of would try and filter as I was going, or as I was writing, I would be like, oh well, that might not hit with that person, or that might offend someone, or that might, where now I'm kind of, obviously I don't go out to deliberately offend anyone, but also I realise that the right people will attract to me, and that's what the biggest learning curve is, really the right people, the right opportunities that align with me will come by me being my true self.
Always.
And I think what I see with a lot of women, like in the professional world, in their career, you know, working on the business, is that they're almost trying to fit into that mould of still what they should be. Whereas is actually just kind of going, do you know what, let's rip the rule book up, let's just do stuff that we want to do that kind of makes us happy, and the right people will be attracted to us that will also be happy because of it as well.
I love that, and I totally agree. I know how passionate I am about all that stuff, so I think it's really, really important, and I can really see the shift happening, which makes me incredibly happy, because I've been in that space for a while, and it's nice to see other people catching up.
But isn't it frustrating, like, you've felt that for a while, I've now kind of, you know, I laughed and said to one of my mentors the other day that I used to be a realist. I used to didn't believe in that, you know, I hate the word woo, because I kind of feel it's
been totally taken by the media.
And it's kind of has a negative slant over it. It's kind of, it's almost like those, has that same sort of thing as the women's groups that burn bras, and kind of it's that kind of, you
or
know,
even at the point now, like girl boss has become a bit like eyebrow sneer, or that, you know,
and it kind of brings those like negative reactions and stuff like that. But I do think the people are shifting to the whole being more open to the spiritual stuff, and the what I would call the softer side of
well-being,
business, career, and all of that, like, and being really open about failures, because really, are they failures? Are they?
I just want to do that when they say failure, because I don't believe in it.
Because I don't, and I used to see like, wow, like I failed big time, you know, if it was something minute that was going on, you know, to me in my head, that was like, I am, you know, no one's going to ever work with me again, like I'm, you know, like would blow it so out of proportion because of my sort of chasing perfectionism, really. But it's amazing how when you shift that to like, this is, when you reframe it to be a learning point, you know, a kind of pivot in your life, pivot in your business, you know, if something personally is going on. A lot of people say, oh, well, what you're dealing with your like injury and stuff, like you must be like really angry with like the particular climbing place because the equipment failed, you know, you must be like really frustrated with the hospital wait times and but now I kind of say, oh yeah, at one point I would have been, but now I see it as, okay, well, I'm lucky that I've got a national health service that I can call upon. Yes, there are wait times, but other people are waiting that are in more need than me, because if they weren't, then they wouldn't be higher on that list and I would be, you know, and it's all about how you think about things and frame things. And I think once you start, and I'm not saying for any minute you don't get times where you're feeling negative and rubbish about yourself, because I've been there many times. Like I said, that journey is up and down, but almost allowing you to have those times, really sit and reflect with that. Don't push forward until you've dealt with that and kind of worked. And it's all that kind of evolution of your thought processes and how you react to things and that resilience. And it's amazing how I have noticed a shift in me and people around me on how quick we bounce back.
Yes,
in
100%.
Comparison to, and that all comes from learning and changing your perspective of not wallowing that you're in a position of challenge or barrier, but actually using that sort of failure as a, well, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to change it? What resources do we have available to be able to, what ideas do we have? And kind of really those, we're able to pull ourselves out of these downtimes easier.
I agree. I've noticed, like say the last year, definitely, it has been a real shift in the company and in the team, and you really see that. And I think it is really healthy mindset, rather than to say it's okay to not be okay. We all have moments with our mental health, but it's wallowing, it's unpacking your stuff and living in that space. And now we go, we're having a bad day or a bad week, and that's fine. And we've got but how can we move forward? What steps can we put in place to change this around? And I think it is really positive, you know. So what is, now that we've been on this evolutionary journey through ProspHER together, what is in your head for our future and our next steps? Because that's what the people want to know. Where are we going, right? Insider.
Yeah,
what are the secrets that you can share?
The online platform that has evolved, so ProspHER Quest has evolved from a purely networking type community, I suppose. So that support piece has been really always been pivotal around what we do. But we've built out the education and the content in there and the different features within there. But I'm working very hard from a more strategic level to turn it into a gaming platform. Like I want it to be like a mashup between like a community networking type space, a mentoring, coaching type environment, the learning, educational with all the personal and professional development, all kind of like built within a kind of fun, enjoyable game environment. So like you're up leveling and you're kind of, you're not competing against anyone, you're competing against yourself to be better.
That. I bet it's called Quest. I mean, you do straight away, right? Yeah. I love that.
So it's kind of that like, and to begin with, again, it was like, oh, well, no one's doing, why is no one doing this? Oh, because like it, it's not going to work. That was kind of what I thought. And then actually I've realised this because there's a lot of platforms out there that have got that sort of very white, boring, dull kind of, and we all know, as you've got children, and anyone watching who's got young children especially, well, even moving into teenagers, it becomes even more difficult. But if they're having fun learning and fun upskilling and fun whatever you're doing, if it's fun, you do more of it, right?
Yeah, and you don't sometimes even know that you're learning because you're having fun while you're doing
it.
Yeah.
And so like with this, like it's almost keeps the accountability, not by kind of forcing you back into, oh, I've got to go back on this and do this. Want it to be like, I want to get on, you know, when the kids go to bed tonight, I want to get on and do half an hour towards achieving that goal or towards, and so yeah, that's what I'm working really hard on. And then from the event side, you know, being events director, we've done lots of different events, and we've kind of used what the bank of knowledge and the kind of that we've brought through from 2015 and kind of all those learning points that I've bored you all with, and kind of that, and all the stuff that we've learned, we've kind of created the festival event. But what the ultimate goal would be, and what we're now starting to work on, is bringing that online immersive experience and that kind of quest, that kind of journey of moving towards goals quicker and more effectively. And because what I've found throughout my career is there's so much conflicting information out there, and there's so many people, like even with you, with like the, you know, emailed and got someone in Liverpool who sent you back to the growth hub, who then sent you here. Like that's great and that's brilliant, like networking is great, but wouldn't it have been even more fantastic if you got to me quicker, like you got to
100%.
Prosper quicker? You know, as a woman, we're all busy, whether you have children, don't have children, like you're caring for elderly relatives, like whatever, you tend to have that woman's load. And to be able to get there quicker, so wanting to really create an event that does that, so it's taking the guesswork out of what training should I go to, what workshops should I go to, what should, you know, almost having a clear plan. You know, you hit that gate, and
you know exactly what you get to.
You have got, okay, well, you are a woman who runs a spiritual, more like coaching, wellbeing business. This path through the event would be best for you, because you will get to learn, you know, learn this, and almost really not lock people out to other things if they're interested in them, but almost give them that very clear path of what will work best based on their circumstances.
I love that. So it feels very personalised and very tailor-made for everyone's individual situation.
It's almost like, what's your goals? Like, you know, like with you, with the Women's Centre, what's your goals with that? Like, what does that look like? Right, I want a Women's Centre, I want to build that, like, as quick. You know, do you want to wait 10 years to build that? Well, no. Well, okay, how can we get you in front of the right people, get you the right mentors, the right coaching, the right support, the right funding, the right, all of these things that obviously the online quest platform brings together.
Yes, absolutely.
We want to do that in the physical space.
I love that. I love that. It sounds so exciting.
It's exciting, but it feels like a lot of work. It feels a big thing.
Everything we do feels like a lot of work. But actually, when we start to break it down, one of my absolute, I have lots of sayings that I say all the time, and one of them at the moment that I'm really leaning into, as you know, is one thing at a time. Not even one day at a time at this point, because even a day can feel really overwhelming. We just do one job at a time. And we breathe throughout it. So you break it down, because there's like, you know, a whole you know, plan can feel like, oh my god,
and
so
that's
literally
why,
like, break it down into bits.
And that is why we work as a team very well, and you know, the others that are coming, we all have our ways of working. Like with me, probably tell I'm fairly relaxed, but when I start talking about visions and goals and the what I want to achieve, I go off on like I'm very self-aware.
I had a 14-minute WhatsApp message yesterday.
I get very passionate, and that's great, but sometimes I need Katie or Sandra or one of the other team members to go, well, let's just kind of make a plan. Like, I think I kind of want it, like, I thought of it, I've communicated it, I want it up and running like tomorrow. And it's not for that I have that expectation on anyone. I'm so excited. I want to see it. I know the impact it's going to make to the women we work with.
Absolutely.
That I think I kind of then, I don't want to wait. I want to do it, you know. So, interestingly, I could probably use a lot of what I think that's why ProspHER's always worked well, and the journey is that a lot of things I could see working well for me, like in terms of like if I the platform as we're developing it, you know, will help me break down
that's what
my
I say.
journey.
You know, I say to, because you know I'm a book coach as well and help people write their own books, and I say you should write the book that you want to read.
Yes.
So you're creating the platform that you need now, but also you recognise you needed 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Exactly.
You're giving yourself those tools because you recognise how valuable they are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really key.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I think anyone who bases a business, whether it's a big businesses, you know, that start and grow very big, or the smaller businesses, you create them usually because you have a problem. You've had that problem. You know, you've been an author of many books, and you know, you probably needed that book coach. You needed that person to support you. So you recognised the challenges and actually what you can then provide, and that's why you've now do that. These things just don't usually come out the blue,
no,
do
exactly.
they? And they usually come when it comes from women, is that they want to help people with challenges that they've overcome.
Definitely. Turning the negative into a positive. It's very healing. I agree. I love that. So, as you know, we have a random question to finish, and I really don't panic. It's all worries. I'm
a bit scared.
I really thought about what to ask you, and I thought there's only really one question I could ask you. Okay. In terms of your personal journey with your career and ProspHER, if you could work and have women who you see in the world, famous or not, that you could connect with and support through their journey, or they support you, who would they be and why? You have 3.
Wow. Okay, that's a big question.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay, so who...
Put on the spot.
Thing is, I'm a bit of a, not a lot of people know, but I'm a bit of a history buff. So like even kind of Marie Curie and people that are kind of an Edith Cavell, and you know, those sort of so I'm a bit of science, history, like kind of medical. I watch a lot of medical documentaries, which my husband hates. But, you know, those sort of things. So I think those sort of women that have done pivotal things in history. Yeah, it's not so much the subject matter. And actually, I would probably like to connect with those that aren't in the business world. So whether it be medical science or kind of, you know, architecture or different things. But those that have done big pivotal things, and maybe at the time, you know, a lot of these, they're not really celebrated until years later. So I would say, maybe I don't have specifics. Well, I probably do, but there's probably a very long list. Yes. But to generalise, and because we've not got long, I would say those that have made... push the boundaries and being quite innovative and creative within their specialisms, and almost would be really helpful to have them come back to life and mentor me. Or I'm sure there are many alive now, not just, you know, wanting to bring dead people back to life, but those that have really done pivotal things in their specialisms, even at the time they might not have been seen by the outside world as done something, but they still pushed the boundaries, did it anyway. And I think that's kind of how I see myself with ProspHER, and kind of I see us as a company, just regardless of what happens, those failures, the things that don't work out, actually we still stay innovative, we still stay creative, and we still kind of keep pushing those boundaries for the benefit of the women we help.
I love that. Great answer.
Thanks.
Well, look, Serena, thank you so much. It was a really good chat. I knew it would be. I knew that when we got into it, it would be interesting and you know, unique of itself. So thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today.
It's been painless.
Yeah, it wasn't too painful.
And I was pretty well behaved.
She was. We didn't swear. We've got Sugarshow. That's our new hashtag Sugarshow, right? Look, I hope that you found this as interesting as I have, and that you've given you something to take away. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Let us know, and obviously, as always, do the admin, do that like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And Thank you so much for watching. Watch out for another episode with another amazing person, and we will see you again very, very soon. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Bye.